Thank you, Dr. Naveen, for introduction. And also, I'm very thankful for you for giving this opportunity to share my research and experience to young students of MIT University. I understand that MIT University is a very big university which has a lot of campuses. And I am very thankful to participants also for joining this session. And as I have only 1 hour for this session, I would like to brief about my research, particularly the technical part. But apart from that, I will also give you some brief idea about our university. I think Shantou name itself may not be very popular as compared to Shanghai, Beijing, or Hong Kong. But I will give you idea of why this university is special and different. And apart from that, I'm showing you 3 pictures in front of your screen. So this is our, like, you can say the current recent development that we are involved in, apart from our fundamental research that we are doing. So one is a mini research factory. So this is a kind of concept that we have started in China, especially in our university. Instead of treating laboratories as laboratories, we can treat them in terms of research factory where we can target particular product developments that can, directly reach out to society. So in that, we also have production of materials, sustainable. Then we have APP that can be used by farmers or regions, to estimate soil moisture. And then we have automated irrigation system, which is a improved version as compared to the previous ones. So I will discuss all this during in the end briefly. Okay, so before that, I would just like to go through our university first. So this is a Shantou University. To give you an idea, Shantou is located near to Hong Kong. So if you come to Hong Kong from Delhi, there's a direct flight. From Hong Kong, you can take a 2 hours bullet train that will reach you. That will take you to the Shantou in 2 hours. So Shantou is 2 hours roughly from Hong Kong. You can also go to Shantou through Jaipur. From Jaipur, there is direct flight via Bangkok Island from Jaipur through AirAsia. So if I see is here Noida or Gurgaon, it's very near. So from here, from by Delhi, you can go to Hong Kong and then take a flight. Or from Jaipur also there is flights to Shantou. And Shantou region is a coastal region. It's known for biggest toy manufacturing in the world and also for textile manufacturing. So in terms of textile manufacturing, it's export around $100 billion to the world market. So our university, similar to MIT universities, you have many type of schools and colleges. Shantou University also have different schools and colleges, but our scale may be much smaller than MIT University. So we have around 10,000 students on campus. And this scale is much smaller than other Chinese universities also. In other Chinese universities, you can expect maybe around 50,000 students in campus. But our Shantou University was very unique. When it began in 1981, it was the only semi-public university in China. So in China, there is no such private university concept. Most of the, I would say, universities are public universities. Now, our university is also mostly owned by government. So in China, it is very hard to find a private university. So it's a kind of concept by government to have only public universities. So we have 9 schools and colleges, including liberal arts, science, engineering. And we have a new college, if you see on the right side. I will briefly mention about it. This is a new one. It's a joint college with the Technion Israel Institute of Technology in Israel. And this institute is a fully fledged campus in itself and has independent administration, but it is a part of our university. And this is how one of the main, you can say landmark of our university. It's a sports park. It has been constructed with the funding of 10 billion Indian currency, if I say in Indian currency terms. Most of the major...
Ankit, your voice is not audible. It is rebounding.
Okay. So is it okay now? I will.
Yes.
So this sports park is constructed with a funding of roughly around 10 billion Indian currency. So most of the major conferences and also very big graduation ceremony for students, it happens in this auditorium. This is just like another campus. We also have stadiums and place for library and also for student outings. So this is our president of our university. In China, the president of universities are mainly from the government. So she's the central party committee, you can say CCP, party secretary and president of university. But we also have Shantou University. We also have an executive vice president. Uh, he's in our university. The executive vice president is from not from China, but is actually a foreigner from Canadian Chinese. So he's a academician from Canada. So this Shantou University is special because our partly we also receive funding from Billionaire, which was born in Shantou and living in Hong Kong now, and partly we receive from government. And this is one of the new programs that has been started with University of Michigan. It's a biomedical engineering program, and this program is funded by, as I said, Billionaire to help develop local technologies in terms of health and medical sector. So in this program, almost all the faculties are from, again, not from China, but from other countries. Mix of like, you can say Australia, Germany, UK. So they are working full time in Shantou University for this biomedical engineering program, which is completely in English and is jointly with University of Michigan. And this is a campus which I was talking about, Guangdong Institute, Technion Israel Institute of Technology. So this campus, you can say, is a baby of Shantou University and Technion Institute of Technology Israel. So it's a joint campus which is fully fledged and has an independent administration. The vice chancellor of this campus is a Nobel laureate from chemistry, Professor Aaron Shevner. He's originally from Israel, but now he's full-time working in Guangdong Technion Israel Institute. So this campus is neighbor of our Shantou University. But most of the administrative works uh, are independently governed by this Technion. And the programs of this campus, the degree is coming from Israel, but the students have to be physically present or working or studying in Shantou. So before I go into presentation, in my technical work, I will briefly introduce my bioengineering group. So we have a greenhouse for our bioengineering work and also what wind tunnel facility. In wind tunnel facility, we are stimulating one of the major research that we are doing is on vertical forest. As you can see on the left side, this one is a model of vertical forest in a wind tunnel. So in this vertical forest, the concept is we try to, in this design of vertical forest, it's not a very new concept. In Italy, this first building was designed in Italy. But now in China, there is a campaign that they want to construct such vertical forest, maybe in huge numbers in Shanghai, Beijing, and big urban cities where population is very dense. So this will help not only in terms of aesthetic environment, but also in terms of cleaning the air and also providing, help in reducing carbon emissions. So in this vertical forest, the building must be minimum 200-meter high. So it's a high-rise building up more than 200 meter. And in each balcony, you are expecting maybe 50 to 100 trees. So it's a kind of forest in each balcony. So this kind of vertical forest is now under construction in Shanghai and Beijing. And one of the consultancy work, research work was done in Shantou University. So Professor Wong Chinhua, he is my collaborator. So he is the main expert in wind engineering, and I was providing expertise from vegetation point of view. And there's other consultancy work. So our Shantou University wind tunnel is very old, but has been involving a lot of real consultancy work in from major cities of China for like hotels, entertainment, resorts. And also we have constructed in-house wind tunnel for measuring wind impact on soil gas transport. This is a very small wind tunnel, but was constructed in-house totally from students and faculties in order to study how wind can impact soil gas. Because for this, we don't need very sophisticated tunnel. We are focusing on wind speed and wind pattern near soil surface. We also have many exchange students and also full-time students from, if I say from India, and also from other countries like Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand. From India, we invited many students in for summer research internship, which I think will be very useful. If we can, I will be very happy to discuss with Dr. Naveen to initiate summer research internship program specifically for students of MIT University if they are interested to do research for 3 months to 6 months at Chantal University. We keep inviting students to involve them in research projects. They jointly work with students from Chantal University. And I also encourage Chinese students from Chantal University to do exchange in other countries like Singapore, Hong Kong, and also in India. So this is just a glimpse of research students from Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, and from India. So before I go technical presentation, I would just like to acknowledge the grants that I received in China for carrying out my research project. And also we have a cooperation project with the King Mongkut Institute of Technology in Thailand. I have a list of collaborators, including Dr. Naveen, with whom we have been discussing on working on use of fiber optic technology also for understanding the strain and temperature in ground in infrastructure. So the contents of my presentation. So as I said in my presentation, I will be focusing on use of biochar. I'm not sure many students if they have seen biochar in reality, but I will give you an idea how it looks like. It's more like an ash, but it's different. And how we can use such material in landfill also as a cover material. So that study we have done in terms of understanding water retention, cracking, and also gas permeability. So if you see in this picture, this picture demonstrates how desiccation cracking in various green infrastructure, like it can happen in slop, can happen in green infrastructure means like green roof, biofilters, or it can happen in agriculture also, land. So these cracks, what will happen, it will increase the penetration of rainfall water in the ground, which can reduce soil strength and ultimately can cause instability to slopes. For green infrastructure, it will lead to higher amount of infiltration. Okay. It can help in reducing flooding, but at the same time, it will lead to more drainage. In drought also, agriculture also, if you have rainfall after cracking, the water will go deep into the ground rather than being available for the roots. And biochar is a material which we think we can try to utilize in engineering infrastructure to see if it can help to sustain the biocover. So this material looks like this. I mean, if you see on the left side, and it looks like a charcoal, a powdered charcoal. But this material is usually made by uh, pyrolyzing in an oxygen-limited condition. Okay, so basically, it's a breakdown of lignin cellulose and hemicellulose at very high temperature. Maybe we are talking about 400 degree to around 700 degrees Celsius. So biochars are usually made at this temperature of 400 to 700 degrees Celsius of heating under oxygen-limited condition. And it's not a new material. People have been using in agriculture for carbon storage recently and also energy storage. But in agriculture, they have been using quite extensively in research. Yes, but based on our recent survey, we are also doing research on disseminating of biochar in the ground level. When we carry out survey from farmers in India and China, we found that actually at the ground level, the knowledge about biochar is very limited. So most of the farmers, if we inquire at the ground level, if we do survey, we can see that the research has not reached to them due to many reasons. It can be because of lack of commercialization or lack of technical knowledge. I mean, for those who are manufacturing biochar, and also lack of understanding of science in it. So our research, we try to cover, understand how we can first understand the science of using biochar in engineering infrastructure, and followed by that, can we give some kind of idea or guidelines to engineers that what kind of biochar they have to use in what kind of soil. This was very limited when we found by survey from our ground level. I mean, from farmers in India and China, we did survey in 2 languages also. So this is recent research which I am talking about, which has not been published, but I would like to share with students specifically because when we carry out research, it is very important that our research, we must think about the consumer end also. It's not like we do research and it remains in publication form, but we have to understand that what we can do more so that it can reach out to the consumer, means it can be farmers, engineers, so that they can utilize your product for their benefit. It's very important we think about consumer end. So in engineering applications, we can think about using biochar in the top layer. Top layer means like I'm talking about this layer, this particular layer. So if you can use this biochar here, so my computer don't have touch screen, so I'm writing with my mouse. So you can think about how we can add biochar, in this particular zone in order to improve soil water retention plus growth of plants at the same time, and also reduce cracking. So this is the concept. Now in agriculture, people have been using this quite a lot, but the problem is in engineering, our soil is very different from that of agriculture. We cannot borrow their results, or we cannot even borrow their understanding and apply directly in this kind of slope, because here I will show you later, our soil is highly compacted. Yeah. So this is where I think students can pay attention, because when we say that this product has been used in agriculture, but we cannot borrow an engineer directly because our soil is very dense in engineering, first of all. And if we add biochar, it is possible that our strength can reduce. So this can be negative effects also. So when we try to see usage of material, we have to think from both positive and negative side. Okay. So I'm not saying it is always positive, but there could be negative side. So fertilizers, we cannot use fertilizers in engineering as such. I mean, for slopes or landfill covers. Irrigation, we don't have, or we try to minimize it. You can say maintenance cost, we want to minimize it. Crop growth, in agriculture, you have 6 to 12 months, but in engineering, if you have to use biochar, you have to think about long term. You don't want biochar to be used and then you want to replace it again. So it means we have to consider aging effects. Depth of influence in engineering landfill or slopes, the vegetation roots can be much longer. Because for stabilization, we may need longer vegetation roots. So our biochar mix is not should happen only at the surface, maybe within some depth of subsurface. And amendment ratio. If you want to mix biochar, if I ask how much quantity you want to mix. In agriculture, we have found that people use mainly within 5%. Even 2 to 3% is quite a lot in agriculture. But in engineering, engineered soil, we don't know how much it will be. Okay, it depends on the effect, okay, the impact that we want to see. Okay, so there are certain questions that need to be answered, which has not been found in agriculture, and we cannot apply directly in engineered soil. So that's why we have to do a very systematic study, very customized study based on our engineered soil or engineered slopes condition to see if this biochar can be useful for its usage in cover material. So the idea is in biocover, you have to mix soils, like in the top layer, okay, plus vegetation plus biochar. And this layer will help us to provide not only nutrients but also water retention. So it may reduce the maintenance of top covers. It may also reduce gas permeability and will help in increasing carbon storage. Now the limitations in previous studies is most of the researchers, I think there's a very famous professor in US from University of Illinois, Chicago. He has done a lot of research in biochar. But the problem is there is less focus on type of biochar or specification. Uh, Most of the biochars, they have been treated same, but in reality, biochars are not same. Just like human beings, we are different, although we can call each other human. But we all have different nature and different characteristics. Similarly, biochar, if you find from market, even though it's from the same company, but their characteristics can be totally different. And this is exactly where what we found from the survey when we did in Chinese and in Hindi in both countries that farmers and engineers, they lack understanding of biochar. They don't know. They just buy from the market and they want to use it directly. They don't understand the science behind the biochar, how it is produced. The production process of biochar itself is very important. Each biochar can be different if your production process and also the feedstock type is different. So we want to see mainly if we have to use from animal waste or plant waste, what type of biochars are produced and which one is better. And also we want to understand how this biochar can affect engineered soil properties like water retention, gas permeability, and cracking. So this is the preliminary studies that we have done in the last 1.5 years, which I am showing it here. So first is we want to develop a new biochar. Okay. So we choose an invasive weed rather than an agricultural residue. We choose an invasive weed for suppressing cracking. Because if you use invasive weed, its effect on the food chain may not be very huge because for agriculture residues, they have alternative use in food chains of animals. And the second part is to explore the mechanism of cracking, water retention, and gas permeability soils in the biochar, and to study the influence of different biochars. We also have done a lot of studies already, which I haven't shown it here, is on the production process. In biochars, as I said, when we produce under different temperatures and under different moisture content, you will have the biochar, even from the same plant source or same waste, the properties can be very different. And we don't know how that production process of biochar can impact our final soil properties. This is the studies that we have recently done and published. I haven't shown it here, but if Dr. Naveen wants, I will share recent publications also so that students can have access to more understanding of biochar. Okay. So I was talking about this research factory. So when we were doing research on biochar from last 1.5 years, my colleagues who are working in wastewater treatment. So my colleague is Dr. Song. So she's expert in wastewater treatment. And also there is a colleague who is expert in energy. So we came up together with a new concept of mini research factory. And this concept is to develop our sustainable materials like biochar and fiber in-house from the waste that is also produced in-house. And we can use it for soil treatment and water treatment that is also in-house. So within the same research factory, everything we are doing it in-house. So we will have our own wetland laboratory where we will produce water hyacinth plant. Okay, it can be in two different types of wetland, horizontal or vertical flow. And these water hyacinth plants will be used to produce biochar of fiber that can be used further in water treatment or even in soil treatment. So the idea is to produce everything in-house from the waste also, which is produced in-house. So we call it, this concept is kind of research factory, so that we can control not only uh, the material properties, but also the application side. And also we can control the feedstock. So this idea from feedstock to production to application, we have implemented it in-house for the last 2 years. And this is a concept, I think, that helps to uh, improve fundamental research quite significantly, and also help to demonstrate to industries how they can scale it up if they have to do it on a larger scale. But this we have done it at a very small scale for our research, fundamental research in laboratory. And this is exactly the special issue which I think I will mention in the end. So we have a special issue in biomass conversion and biorefinery. The name of the special issue in that journal is from feedstock to production to application. So we are encouraging research who is doing production and also controlling application in their lab works. Usually engineers focus on application, but if we combine engineers and also people from energy and environment, we can actually try to control feedstock production and application together. So this will really help to, create products that are really based on consumers, uh, interest, and also from their specification. So we have a machine of biochar production. We use algae from coastal regions in China. We have water hyacinth weed that is again coastal region from China. So from Shantou is located very near to South China Sea, and we have obtained a lot of algae waste from that sea, produced biochar and also water hyacinth weed. So we have published these two papers on it already in recently, I think in last month. I will circulate to Dr. Naveen if anybody is interested. So the idea is, again, as I said, we are focusing more on production process so that we can see which biochar we can produce to maximize its efficiency on soil properties. So water hyacinth is a global issue as it has infested many countries around the world, including many parts in India. In Assam, where I was working before, from 2015 to 17, there is a very famous Dipor Bill Lake in Assam. I don't know if some students are from Assam. They will know this Dipor Bill. So this water hyacinth plant is very famous in Assam. And in China, if we just compare 2004 and 1940 and 2004, this is two maps of China. So you can see 1940, only 3 regions were infected. In 2004, more than half of China is infected with this water hyacinth. And this plant is very difficult to remove. And government actually spends a lot of money every year to remove these plants. And this plant is a problem because it's an invasive species. It kills all your aquatic diversity in your water. It is nuisance. It also create problem for channeling and tourism, everything. So government has to spend a lot of money to eradicate every year. And the problem is it grows very fast. If you remove it for 1 week, it will again come in 2 weeks, it will again fill the entire pond. So we need to find a alternative waste management technique where we can utilize this in uh, soil or water remediation. People have done studies on water remediation using this plant, but not much, and also for textile manufacturing in, I think in Assam also it's going on. But the problem is this usage is still much less than what is being produced within a week, if I say. So we need more and more type of alternative use so that we can uh, have a proper waste management. And the fundamental behind using biochar in soil is this presentation slide. Okay, and I don't know if students have read capillary effect in their high school physics. or in their undergraduate physics. I'm sure they have read a capillary tube. Okay, okay. Suppose if this is a water, I will just want students to know this effect. So there's a capillary effect. I think students might have already read in the in physics. Um, so, so if you put a capillary tube in a water, you will see there's a water rise happening. Okay, so in soil also the water is held in form of tension. Okay? So this height h, okay, is called, we call it, we can call it soil suction or soil tension. Okay, this water is held in tension in soil pores, and this h is equal to 2t upon rho RT, if you remember this equation in your high school physics. So if your radius is smaller of this tube, your water will rise more, right? So similarly, if you, this is soil, this is biochar, and this is soil plus biochar. So when you mix biochar, what you are doing is you are reducing this R value. Okay? So when you are mixing biochar, your R value goes down. Okay. When your R value goes down, your H goes up. Okay, when you are mixing biochar, because biochar is very fine and it is reducing the pore radius or pore size, average pore radius of a soil particle. So we can expect that your pores are becoming smaller and smaller in terms of radius. So your tendency to hold water will become larger. So this is a term called soil suction. Okay. So it will become larger when your R is smaller. So with biochar, what happens is your R becomes smaller, so your H will become higher. Okay. H becomes higher means your soil suction or tension will become higher. So ability to hold water will be much more in soil mixed with biochar than without biochar. So this is very basic concept. It's coming from basic capillary equation that we have read in our high school physics or even in your undergraduate, I'm sure. So I want students to understand that this is the most basic fundamental of using biochar in terms of porosity. Okay, and to verify the effect, we did a model experiment in Chantor University with our greenhouse in a 1D column, which were designed in-house with soil moisture and soil suction sensor together. We monitored it for around 63 days, which include 7 drying wetting cycles, 9 drying wetting cycles. So it was 9 drying wetting cycles. Each cycle was 7 days. And we monitored temperature, humidity together using a monitoring station. And during this time, we were capturing images so that we can quantify the cracking also at the same time. So cracking, water retention, soil moisture, then environment parameters we were quantifying at the same time for 63 days. And we developed an in-house image processing program um, at our university to quantify cracking automatically from the images. So we have too many images for this experiment. And we have a burden. If we try to do it manually, it may take a lot of time. And also there was issue with the manual programming that there was a noise coming in the border of this issue. There was a in the border, around the border, there was this noise coming. It was very difficult to remove noise. So we patented this program where we can quantify automatically the cracking in soils, where we can capture very minute cracks, okay, and also remove the noise from the boundary. So here you can see there is a lot of noise from the boundary. This is from the commercial program, okay, the manual program, as I said, using commercial software. But this is from the program that we have developed in Python language for image processing. And the accuracy appears to be more better in terms of resolution for very fine cracks that we can observe from this new program that we have developed in the lab. So from students' point of view, I think it is when you do research, it is not just you have to do experiments with the given methodology or given equipment. In research, we encourage students also to develop or to modify or improve existing methodology also. So maybe your research is targeting a particular objective, but you are always welcome or encouraged if you can develop a new research method or a new research tool or equipment during your research when you are achieving your objective. So we think that the existing methodology was not very good, so we try to develop our own method for quantifying cracks. So for students, it is very important they can always think about research from different angles. So if we see the effect of biochar, so this BS represents bare soil, that is that is without biochar, BS on this left side. And if you go to the bottom, this S15BC at the bottom, this represents biochar soil with 15% biochar content. S15BC is 15% biochar, BS is. So you can see that if you see focus on the orange line, this was around 7, here is around 3. Here in S10BC is around 3. So it means your cracking have reduced more than 2 times, right? If we add 10% biochar. Now, if we see the water retention, here it was 30, it's increasing 30 plus, 35 plus, 40 plus, and around 45 plus. So your water retention increased quite significantly on the saturated side. And also on unsaturated side, also it increased to around 20. It was around 10. So it means when the soil is very, very dry, even under that condition, your biochar can help to retain more water, which is very useful for plants. When your plant on the slope is subjected to extreme drying, your biochar can help to give them water even under very dry conditions, which can be very useful for survival of plants when we use in landfill cover or slopes. So you need to ask question. We use 10% biochar here. 10% biochar also give around 3%. 15% also give similar results. Shall we use 10% or 15% in the field? My suggestion will be to use 10% only, because 15% biochar, the compaction becomes very difficult. Practically, if you want to compact soil at 90% or 95% degree of compaction, it is very difficult to compact beyond 10% of biochar or 15%. So ideal will be 10% of biochar. In agriculture, now if you go back to previous slides, remember I asked you what is the amendment ratio we have to use in engineering. In agriculture, people use maximum 2 to 5%. But in engineering, you can see we already go beyond 5%, we already go beyond 10%. So depending on our impact in engineering soil, we may need much higher amount of biochar in engineering soil than in agriculture soil. So this is one difference you can easily observe uh, when, from the agriculture. So the efficiency of biochar or the quantity of biochar required for engineered soil is much more than that in agriculture. So in summary, the new biochar was developed from invasive plant. The new biochar can help to reduce cracking and can increase water retention. Now I will discuss another set of experiments we did on gas permeability of soil. Again, we developed in-house gas permeability setup. So this is one thing for students which I have found, because I have taught in India also and in China recently. So in China, we have our students in China, they have a lot of encouragement, and they have a lot of, you can say, ecosystem to develop apparatus or equipments in-house. So instead of buying directly, even we have an option to buy a lot of equipment directly from the market, but it is always encouraging for students if they can try to manufacture inside everything. So we developed this in-house gas permeability setup. So this is the in-house gas permeability setup that we manufactured. So it has 2 chambers, the bottom and the upper chamber. The bottom chamber is to apply the air pressure and also to collect any drained water. The upper chamber is for the soil sample, where we install water content sensors and soil suction sensors to monitor soil moisture and soil suction. And in bottom chamber, we apply the air pressure. And on one wall, there are three valves, one for drain water. The one valve is to apply air pressure. The other valve is to measure any pressure difference. And we measure the gas permeability using Fick's law, and also water retention curve in three different soils. So the black one represents the bare soil, that is without biochar. The green represents 5% biochar, and the bluish represents 10% biochar. You can see 10% biochar mostly have much higher water content than 5%. And in gas permeability, now gas permeability, why we need it? Just to give you an idea, because in landfill cover, we want to minimize also gas flow. Okay, so there are waste and there could be leakage of gas that can happen. So we have to minimize any possibility of gas flow from the soils to the air in long term specifically. So if we have biochar, it is expected that the gas permeability can reduce very significantly, even in 5% biochar at all different type of suction. Even for a very dry soil, the difference between soil and biochar amended soil is much larger, very dry soil, than compared to wet soil. So if the soil is very wet, then of course the gas permeability is very less in magnitude, but the difference will not be large between soil and biochar amended soil. But if your soil is very dry, the difference between bare soil and biochar amended soil will become large. You can see here the difference is larger as compared to here. So this is what I was talking about. If we have to go in future of promoting feasibility or use of biochar in landfill cover, we have to think about production process about. As I said, each biochar behave differently. You can see these biochars look similar. These are poultry litter biochar from chicken poultry waste. They are from water hygiene infestation and sawdust. They look similar from the face value if you see the biochar, but they are very different in their properties, in their microstructure. And this is exactly where engineers or farmers need to understand how we can promote this kind of science to them also. This is another research which has to be done. We call it dissemination of research. How we can promote use of, how we can promote research that we have done already to people at the ground level. So young students can take this research. We call it dissemination of science, what we have discovered. So we did in-house experiments again on, we produce another type of biochar. We call it nano biochar. It's a very new type of biochar. And we compared with plant and animal-based biochar for cracking and evaporation. This nano biochar was produced by implementing again. We used chalk white biochar, and we implemented at 400 degrees Celsius. We first manufactured a biochar, and then we use nanoparticles to implement on it. So we constructed a CW nano biochar. So this biochar has good properties in contaminant sorption, but we want to also know whether it can be good in retaining water or not. So we did a series of experiments. You can see we did on loose soil and dense soil. Loose soil was for agriculture, dense soil was for engineering. And we also did two different contents of biochar, that is 5% and 10%. We have wood biochar, pig manure, and chalk and wheat biochar, which is nano biochar. And again, we did drying wetting cycles, and we analyzed the cracking. This is a brief mechanism of biochars that we have to, the cracking that takes place. So in cracking, usually your water dries at the surface, and then the tension is induced. So then crack takes place. So this is a UTR diagram for the three different biochars. So you can see the wood biochar is more porous. This wood biochar, which is in the tree, is more porous than chalk wheat and pig manure biochar. So in cracking, what we found that your wood biochar is very good in reducing cracking as compared to nano, animal, and soil. So animal biochar from animal waste is not good for cracking, but the wood biochar was much better. So in retained water also, wood biochar could retain more water than nano or animal biochar. The idea was from here. The wood biochar has more porous structure, which can retain more water as compared to other biochars. We also compared with other type of materials that have been used in literature to think about the mechanism. In fiber, you have reinforcement and water absorption. But in biochar, you have a water absorption. For animal biochar, it is negative effect, okay, that it may not be able to absorb more water, but plant can be able to absorb more water. So I want to throw these questions to audience is that first we need to always think that all biochars are not same. That is exactly the problem lies with current engineering practice because we have less knowledge about biochar, we have less knowledge about production process. What we get from market, we try to use it directly. So we have to be very careful when we obtain any product from the market. We have to understand the production process very carefully and how we can improve the production process so that it can help, we can promote its usage in engineered soil. So production process not only in terms of pyrolysis conditions like temperature, moisture content, and also animal waste or type of waste, but also scale. Now I have not mentioned it in my PowerPoint. Scale is very important. We need a lot of quantity of biochar for slow content. And honestly, there are very few companies in India which produce biochar on larger scale under controlled conditions. There are some companies which produce, but the conditions are not controlled, and they mix different type of waste which can be toxic. So some biochars can be toxic. It is very important for engineers also to develop large scale production process which can be controlled and be able to produce biochar at such a large scale that we can use it for engineering. This is another angle of research which is needed in future. And recent research, just to give you an idea, we have been also, based on our previous research, we have published on color analysis for estimating soil moisture. It's a very, very rough estimation of soil moisture for different type of soils. So we had developed charts. So using image analysis. Basically, you can see if you put water on a soil, just to give you an idea in very layman language, you put water on soil, the soil will look darker, right? Sandy soil. So depending on the color analysis principle, we can quantify its relation with soil moisture, and then we have developed an APP over it to give an idea just from the image of a mobile, what kind of moisture you're talking about in the soil. And this idea came from textile industry, where designers, they analyze color analysis. Basically, if you say in engineer's point of view, we quantify color in form of numbers. Okay? So you just give number to every color. So if you see any color around you now also, you can say that you can put numbers on every color, every dot. That is what is called color analysis. So basically we call it color space. You give numbers to each color. And color we can relate to science. Is you know this concept of green leaf and red leaf, orange leaf or yellowish leaf. So when you have very low photosynthesis, your leaf tends to become yellowish or orange. Okay? And this is a relationship that we have developed for different soils. And this is relationship we have implemented in this APP. So we are modifying this APP in 3 different languages, English, Hindi, and Chinese, to reach out to more and more people at the ground level, especially farmers or engineers in the site. Another research that we are currently doing is on improved irrigation control using unsaturated soil mechanics. Now, there are irrigation systems in literature, especially from Israel, but the problem is they are mostly on surface, at the surface level, and the reason is they have been used only for agriculture purpose. For agriculture, you need mainly at the surface. And the problem is one of them is in the surface, if you flow water, some of the water will get evaporated. And another issue is the moisture flow is not totally based on soil suction. And also they are not based on different depths. In engineered soil, we need, if we have to plant, if you have to think about in biocovers, we may need depending on the depth also of the roots. So we develop a new in-house system, again, our automated irrigation control, where we can control the irrigation on the subsurface depending on the moisture present at that particular surface. So we don't have to irrigate from the surface, rather than we will irrigate directly in the subsurface in it. And also depending on the moisture or the soil suction that we get at that point. Just to give you an idea, thanks to my collaborators, Professor Olson he is a professor at Guangdong Technion Israel Institute of Technology. We have a campus. We are working on wind impact on soil gas transport. Professor Song, I was talking about, she is expert in grey water and wastewater treatment. She has done his postdoc also in Technion Israel Institute of Technology. She is currently assistant professor. He's also, I was talking about vertical forest in the beginning. We are working together on vertical forest in wind tunnel. And this is the three special issues I was talking about currently in place. One is the ASC Journal of Hazardous Toxic and Waste Material. You can submit any work related to soil and water remediation. The second one is mostly related to civil engineering in general. It can be concrete, it can be soil, where we are focusing on innovative materials in engineering. The third one is specifically related to biochar, where, as I said, we are controlling feedstock production and application of biochar. So the third one is the second and third is an SCA journal. The first one is a Web of Science, but not SCA journal. It's in ASC. So future cooperation with the MIT University, I am very thankful, and I would be very grateful to explore with Dr. Naveen about student exchange programs. Summer research internship, as I said, we are very open for that. Teaching relevant courses, it can be part-time, online, or these days, I think universities have been exploring online education a lot, so it can be thought very carefully now. It may be feasible. And joint supervision of students, and then followed by joint projects. And it's also establishing laboratories and outreach activities. As I said, we are currently also involved in disseminating research. So that we can get more and more feedback from our engineers and farmers how to improve our product. So with Dr. Naveen, I will be very grateful. So with this one more project we are talking about is fiber optic monitoring and stability analysis of green structures. So with Dr. Naveen, Professor Hong Ju from Nanjing University, will be very grateful to explore this project. So it's for real-time monitoring of geotechnical infrastructure, including pipelines, tunnels using fiber optic. So this can be one technology that can be thought of being developed for India. This I have already introduced before, and with this I would like to thank Spence, and I will be welcoming Q&A. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ankit. The presentation was very informative, and it was a eye-opening for our students and faculties and staff. And also, I have a special thanks for you. You have given an open invitation for our UG student, PG student, as well as PhD students. Can you throw some light for which semester students can go for the internship in the BTech or yeah,
See,
if you're talking about BTech.
honestly, yes, we believe in hard work a lot.
Yes.
And I think if a BTech student from second year or third year
Yes.
are interested, we will be very welcoming. We have one of the very brightest students, intern students from India. I can tell you this from IITs or other colleges who are in BTech second year also, or third year. So we encourage students as young students to join, but we need hardworking students who are,
Yeah.
yes. So that's the only thing.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt. Our students are very hardworking and dedicated.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also, I was concerned about suppose if students are working on this biochar, this is a very new technique you have applied for the Chinese. Can we apply this logic for the Ghaziabad landfill or Mawalipura landfill because the landslides are more automatically fires is taking inside the landfill? Can we address this issue by your new idea?
I'm not able to say it right now because I think we have to see exactly the type of soil or the
Yes.
type of remediation that have been used there, and also the type of gases involved. I mean, if there is a biocover there, if there is a plan or if there is a feasibility to develop a biocover which includes vegetation, then it is very likely that we can use this biochar. If there is a feasibility of developing biocover. Yeah.
Yeah, and also just because end of the day, after doing all this good research, even students will be concerned about their job opportunity. Can you throw some light when you became specialized in this specialization like a landfill biochar or something, for the job opportunity where they will get, or they want to restrict only for the research or for academic? Can you
Okay. I
elaborate on
think,
this?
yeah, I think from job opportunities point of view, like if students are interested, especially in geotechnical consultancies in India,
Yes.
those who are working on, as you said, landfill or slope or retaining wall, they can think about using such research
Okay.
to increase their chances, because this research not only involves a fundamental part, but also it will also have some part related to design and calculation, or like slope stability calculations that can be used directly, that are used directly by this consultancies related to geotechnical infrastructure. Yeah, so that can be useful. So research does not mean students, when they do research, that does not mean students are only doing one part of the work, but
Okay.
they are actually using their theory to actually, it helps to improve their understanding about theory more. They will know the limitations of their theory when they do research. What are the problems in their theory when they try to apply it in research, and how they can improve it. And this will give them very good idea where, suppose if there is a slope stability calculation, they will know that where they don't have to use it also, or where there is a problem in using it. Most of our problem in engineers is that we try to use our equations directly on any given problem, but without understanding that this equation has limitations. So research, by doing research, they will know the limitations behind each equation, where they have to use and where they don't have to use. So this will help in making their design more and more, you can say, careful, or more and more economic, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ankit. With this, I'd like to close the session. I will be,
Thank you.
yeah, I will be, just a minute. I will be taking the vote of thanks now. Now, I'm thankful to all my students, faculty, and staff for coming to attend this webinar. I'm sure our students, faculty, staff member have benefited by attending this webinar. And firstly, I would like to thank our director, S. Sridhara, for providing us with all possible logistic support towards organizing this event. And also, I sincerely thank to Dr. Ankit Garg for accepting our invitation to be the guest of speaker for the webinar. And also, I thank Mr. Ankit Batra for his support for organizing the seminar. At the end, once again, I heartily thankful to all faculty, staff member, and students for their support. Thank you, one and all.